Next up, we have the third speaker for the session is De Mel, WTD, and co-authored by Rodrigo, KBU. De Mel, WTD, is the academic instructor for the media and communication field. And also, Rodrigo KBU is a lecturer for the media and communication field, both from the Department of Integrated Design, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. The topic of this session would be teachers' endeavours in adaptation and optimization of digital tools and features for distance learning in Sri Lanka during COVID-19 pandemic. The podium is yours.
All right, so I'm going to take you to a time where we were, locked down, and we were at our homes, and it was quite a different time than what we live in today. So my topic is, this is about online education, and I'm going to talk about teachers' endeavors in adaptation, optimization of digital tools and features for distance learning in Sri Lanka during the COVID-19 pandemic. Just imagine you were in 2020 where everything became different within like split seconds, and it was such a challenging year for our humankind in the modern era due to this global pandemic we faced. And it was different for it was very different for each and every age group, starting from parents to children and students who were doing their higher education, student who did their primary education. So I'm going to talk about students who are in their primary education stage. So I think I don't know whether there are any parents here. I think there are quite a few. I think they can relate with what I'm going to talk about, because they had to deal with all the hassles and all the different inconveniences with online education when they started adapting their children towards online education in Sri Lanka. So let's just dive into primary education landscape of Sri Lanka. So primary education is quite complex than the secondary or the higher education. So as you can see in this slide, it is very complex. There's a lot of the framework is very complex, and there are a lot of components in the primary education. So to summarize, in terms of the teaching delivery methods, there are three key delivery methods. There are desk work, and there are activity-based learning, and there are play-based learning. So as you can see here, and as you can imagine, so rather than in a university student, which they will have to listen to a lecture through a Zoom session, there are more than that in the primary education sector. So my research problem comes within itself. So what I started focusing was primary teachers' endeavors in optimizing the available digital tools and features in distance learning, intending to meet the students' expectation during the COVID-19 pandemic. So when it comes to available digital tools, I think most of you guys have a question, what is this available digital tools? So before explaining into that, I would try to ask a simple question which you don't obviously have to answer. But so do you think digital tools have their own roles? People are designing, as UX designers are designing to a user group to do a certain task or to complete certain interaction. But what do you think about that? So in this research, there was something amazing I found out, because even though the user experience designers and interaction designers are focusing on a certain interaction or certain task to be fulfilled, these digital tools have been sort of used as an alternative or in a quite vernacular way in a different sort of task. So I'm going to explain that further into my presentation. So these are the research questions I'm going to answer to achieve these research objectives. So the first objective is to identify the teachers' methods adapted, the local primary distance learning, optimizing the digital tools and the features during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the second objective was to identify the intention of teachers in using this digital tools that they have used in conducting distance classes. And also the third objective is to investigate whether whether these intentions of teachers are aligned with the students' expectation in terms of these digital tools and features. So my research is mainly based on a case study methodology. So it was a peer research where I kind of explored through this topic because it has not been explored in Sri Lanka when the time I've conducted this research. So it is an exploratory research, and it was a qualitative method. So in terms of selection of cases, so I have selected 3 different distinctive cases, but keeping some of the things in a so these 3 cases were selected according to the geographical locations of schools, teachers, and the students. And all these cases were taken from grade 4 Sinhala medium classes. So the first case was selected from a suburban context with 32 students, and they have started online teaching in the month of June 2020. And the second case was selected from a rural or a remote context with 30 student count, and they have started a bit later, month later, in August 2020. And the third case was selected from an urban context that also have 30 student count, and they have started earlier than the other 2 classrooms in May 2020. So to check these research to achieve these research objective, I had to limit this research to a certain level of content. So I had to select a content from the curriculum of this age group. And so when selecting the content, I explored the teachers' guides and the syllabus of grade 4 students, and I wanted to find what was the most challenging subject or the lesson which could be which is delivered through online, which has more constraints than a normal mathematics or a language class. So the subject I selected was environmental studies, which is one of the 4 main subjects they have in grade 4. So in this subject itself, there are a lot of practical and play-based activities. So the lesson or the theme I've selected was safety and precautions, and which is widely related to the pandemic situation which I conducted the research in. And so according to the general teacher's guide, there are 9 sub-themes around this lesson. So there are 9 key activities. So this lesson is proposed to be finished within 10 days, so in the in-person classroom. So this is the part of the content of this lesson. So there are 4 sub-themes I've shown here, and I'm going to show you the other sub-themes as well. So these are the sub-themes. For an example, the first sub-theme is natural and man-caused disasters, there are some key activities such as research, sorting information, and discussion. So here the main element of these activities can be categorized under desk work. And normally what in the in-person classroom teachers do is they ask the students to collect information prior to the lesson, and information and pictures or visual elements prior to the lesson, and then they ask students to be grouped and sort them in different ways. For an example, in a tabular way or kind of a graphical way. So that is one of the key activities. So let me take another example from the other 5. So these are the other 5 sub-themes and the activities. In sub-theme 5, which is safety, equipment and different professions. So in this sub-theme, there are mainly the key activities are discussions and role playing, which is also done in class, in the in-person classroom. And teacher mostly will lead a discussion with students, and student using examples, and then sort of a role playing activity will be done. So that is how these kind of lessons are conducted in the in-person classroom. So as you can see here, and as you can get from what I explained, so these kind of lessons actually cannot be conducted or delivered in a traditional way of online education at that time. So I've wanted to dig deeper into this and find out how the teachers tried to achieve to what extent they were able to deliver these kind of activities. So when you talk about my study design, it is mainly consists of 3 distinctive cases. Mainly the study was consist of primary data. There were secondary data were collected in the literature surveys, but my study was mainly based on primary data, where I gathered as a non-participant through non-participant observations and through in-depth interviews and other sort of interviews. So for the first research question, it was qualitative. I was able to join into classrooms, online classrooms or Zoom sessions, and also I was able to go through all the types of delivery methods teachers followed in these 3 distinctive cases as a non-participant observer. And then I was able to interview one teacher from each case study as an in-depth interview, and then I had the chance to interview students as well. So when it comes to analysis of data, there was a lot of data I gathered from all these, and I wanted to find whether these teachers' intentions, which I found, were able to reflected from students' expectations. So what I did was I conducted a thematic analysis. I was able to do a process of coding to identify a certain pattern and to identify a framework to check whether teachers' intentions were actually reflected through students' expectations. So when we talk about my data collection procedure, as I mentioned earlier, I was able to attend these classes as a non-participant observer. So I maintained an observer's note, actually 3 observer's notes for each distinctive case. And then when it comes to interviews, I was able to record everything in transcripts, and then all the data was stored and managed in a very discrete manner. And when it comes to the process of coding, I would elaborate it in a sort of a descriptive manner. So Coding in my research happened in 3 stages, starting from primary, secondary, and tertiary codes. So first being identifying the feature of the digital tools used to deliver each activity of the theme online, then identify the functions, and the functions were encoded as primary codes, and these primary codes were then analyzed with the interview answers by the teachers to understand their intentions of using the identified features and which are the initial themes of the analysis, and then finally identify these initial themes or the secondary codes were analyzed with the interview findings of students' interviews, and investigated whether the intentions of the teachers were satisfied the students' expectations. All 3 stages were done in a tabular manner, and as I can show you an example from case study 1. So this is the primary code matrix of case study 1, where I have listed down the activities and then the content of the activities, and then what are the digital tools have been used, and what are the functions or the functionalities which have been used in those digital tools, as you can see here. And so previously on this presentation I asked whether does digital tools have their own purpose. So people have tried, so these teachers have used tools which are familiar for them, which have they been using as their primary tools. So they have used tools such as WhatsApp as a document management system or a learning management system, and they have used functionality of WhatsApp status as an exhibition for students. So those kind of interesting findings were actually motivated me more on researching on this matter. And this is the secondary codes where I identified the intentions of the teachers, and these are the tertiary codes where I tried to identify what are the whether these intentions were satisfied through teachers' endeavors. So when it comes to the outcomes of this research, I was able to find that teachers used several different, their own, very own familiar digital tools in delivering lessons, and also using them as their learning management tool. So, and as well as what the most interesting thing I found out through my research was the teachers always tried to somewhat or somehow they tried to bring whatever they had in the physical classroom to a digital environment, but they might not have been able to bring it in 100% level, but they have tried that. So what they have tried is to use their familiar digital tools in mimicking the in-person classroom in an online environment. So I would like to bring some a word here, which is skeuomorphism in UI design or user interface, where that is one of the key elements where when we are trying to build up a new tool, where we try to use some of the familiar methods or familiar ways of doing that thing in the digital tool. So for an example, when it comes, when the iPad was first introduced, the note application was very much like the physical notebook, where they had rulers on it. Why do we need rulers in a notebook in an iPad? So that is to ease the transition towards the digital tool. So what I found here was the other way around, where teachers wanted to create a physical environment through the digital tools, which helped me to take this to the next level of immersive technology, where education can be taken into the level of metaverse or AR or VR. So these immersive technologies can be used to further direct this research into a different level or to develop new edtech application. So mainly the purpose of doing this research was to identify the pathways into newer developments in edtech in Sri Lanka using immersive technologies. So that's about it. Thank you very much.